Hey there guys, it's Luke here from TheCheesyCarrot, and today I'm back with another laptop review. Today we're covering the Acer E15 E5-574G, and this will be kind of a more in-depth review. We'll be covering the specifications, all the features of the laptop, and of course some a final verdict at the end to cover the good and not so good things. So please stick around and I hope you enjoy this review. So first off, for the CPU, we have an Intel dual-core i7-6500U that clocks at 2.5 gigahertz and turbos up to 3.1. So with a dual core, it's good enough for doing everyday work like surfing the web, checking emails. You can do a bit of light gaming. For example, on CSGO, you can get at least 60 FPS 1080 on low settings with the help of the graphics chip, which I'll be covering a bit later. But for video editing or kind of CPU intensive tasks with a dual core, even though if it's an i7, it wouldn't be really the best, but of course, this is kind of a budget laptop, so it's kind of expected. For RAM, we have 8 gigs of DDR3. I think it's upgradable, so there should be 2 DIMM slots, but 8 gigs is just enough if you do a bunch of basic stuff. Of course, for the graphics chip, we have a Nvidia GTX 920M with 2 gigs of VRAM, so of course, I already told you, in CSGO you can get about 60 FPS on 1080. So it's good enough for light esporty games, but for AAA titles, or if you want to play in high, I would not recommend this laptop at all. I think there's another version with a 940M, which would be much more suitable, but still not as good as, say, a 950 or 960M, or even the new 10 series cards. For storage, you only get a 1 terabyte hard drive, and I think it is at 5400 RPM, so it's really slow. Boot times are real slow. I advise you to get an SSD, but of course, this is a budget laptop again. And for the panel, we have a 1080p 15.6 inch display. I think it's TN, and it is a matte display, so no gloss. And I'll be covering the panel in just a bit. So first of all, let's talk about the outside. So don't mind these kind of stains. It's kind of an old laptop. My mom has been using it, but I'm just borrowing it for the review. So of course, there's a pretty solid plastic on the outside. It's okay to touch, but it leaves a lot of marks or fingerprints. Not really fingerprints, but hand marks, as you can see. And we have a kind of also white-ish plastic Acer logo right here. And if you can make out the detail, it's not a complete flat finish. There's kind of some kind of texture. It's okay. It doesn't make any sound like my Gigabyte. So this laptop is very solid. I would definitely recommend it because every part of the laptop feels really solid. And yeah, I think it's really good build quality. So if we were to flip the laptop around, we can see the copper heat pipe underneath there for the CPU, the fans right here, and of course we get these kind of rubber stopper feet right here to elevate the laptop a bit. If you want to get inside the internals, you'd have to unscrew a lot of screws, so it's not very convenient, but it's not very hard as well. And as you can see there, it focuses, that's your RAM. I think there's an extra slot as well. And of course the speakers right here. Now the speakers are better than I expected compared to my Gigabyte, which has trash internal speakers. These speakers are I guess they're pretty good. They have they're very clear sound. They get pretty loud. A bit lacking on the bass, but otherwise it's pretty good. The only problem is that when the laptop is, say, on a desk or in a bed like here, the sound gets very, very muffled, and there's a huge difference between like listening to the speakers like this or on the actual surface. So yeah, they're not that great if you're doing it on a surface, but I guess on your lap or when the speakers are actually exposed, it's very enjoyable. Now for ports, on the left side you have a Kensington lock. Let it focus, please focus. That's your kind of exhaust vent area. VGA, Ethernet, HDMI. I'm not sure which type, but it's still HDMI, it's still good. 2 USB 3s. And on the other side, a USB 2, a disk drive. Now this is pretty controversial because not many people use disks, but it's still really useful. And I mean, the laptop is still pretty thin. It's way thinner than my Gigabyte, which yeah, it's not exactly thin, but this is actually really portable and really light, but I'll talk about that kind of afterwards. And of course, this is your power outlet where you would charge. I don't have the AC adapter with me right now, but it's kind of awkward because you would usually on most laptops you charge from the left side, but this time you charge on the right side. Now, I think I've covered everything, but up front, I forgot, there is a SD slot and 2 LEDs, one for the kind of awake or not, as you can see right there, red, it's in sleep right now, and that's for battery, so if your laptop's kind of low on battery, it'll inform you. Now in terms of build quality, I already touched upon, like, this is very solid. The panel does not flinch if I press down here. And of course, holding it feels very sturdy. All the corners feel good. There's no squeaking or anything like that. But in general, the laptop is, I'd say, it's kind of a bit heavier than a 15-inch MacBook Pro. But, I mean, I carry around my Gigabyte, which is a bit heavier than this. And it's, if it's in your bag, it's no problem. In your hands, it's kind of cumbersome. But otherwise, it's pretty portable. The outside is really nice, and if you'll excuse me, I'm going to jump in the inside and I'll show you kind of the features on the inside of the laptop as well. Alrighty then, this is how the laptop looks like when it's open, and I'm just going to cover kind of the top area, then I'll move down. So up top we have a 1080p webcam. The image is pretty clear, quite a lot of details, but color accuracy is not great, or like the colors aren't very vibrant, but then again, it's just a webcam. So better than my Gigabyte, and it'll do the job. Down here again, we have a 1080p 15.6-inch display. 10, I think, but the color reproduction is alright. As we move from left to right, it does not lose much of its color. But if we move up, you can see a lot of black is lost. And the opposite when we move down, less whites. So it's in a mediocre panel. It gets quite bright though. This is max brightness and it looks pretty decent. And I am in a room with a lot of sunlight, so not a bad panel at all. If you move down, I'll talk about the hinge. The hinge is very good. It's solid, and as you can see, I can kind of open it with one hand. So not bad at all. Keyboard. The keyboard I don't really like. The keys are very spongy. They're very shallow and... Oops, that turned on. I'll just turn that off. Let's go. Hey, no, please, right. So the keys are not good, and as you can see, these arrow keys are not very well placed. Up and down is kind of squished together, but of course you get a numpad, so the whole kind of keyboard is messed up, I guess. As you can see, the trackpad is not clearly in the middle. But it's on a 15.6-inch laptop. I think a numpad is very necessary and very important. And something to note is the kind of media controls and brightness are down here. I'm used to having them up here somewhere, which is kind of weird. But, I mean, it's alright. Trackpad. The tracking is okay. It uses Elan drivers, so they're not the best. Clicking... it's very tactile. It's kind of deep. I don't really like the clicking. Of course, you can probably tap as well. The clicking, yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's not the best. It's consistent, but it's okay. It's better than my Gigabyte though, because my Gigabyte buttons are kind of screwed up now. They're very deep, the clicking, and there's no click sometimes. I guess this is better, but again, not the best out there. Wait. Of course, we can check out these cool stickers. Intel Core i7. I don't know if you can see it, but that says Geforce 920M. And a big sticker here with kind of like the advertisement, and you can kind of see the specs and stuff. Other than that, the surface on the keyboard panel, it's textured as well. Very solid. Everything is pretty solid. There's no flex at all when I'm pushing down on the laptop. And I guess this whole part is okay. I don't really like the trackpad. Keyboard is not great, but there is a numpad. I like the panel a lot. The webcam is also pretty decent. But that's all for the features. So next up, I'm going to be talking about kind of what I don't like, what I like, and if my final verdict on the laptop. So about the thoughts on this laptop. Battery is pretty good. It's the laptop is pretty thin, so don't expect much. But full brightness, power saver, you can get maybe more than 4 hours comfortably. Gaming, gaming plugged in, you usually have it plugged in, so I'm not even going to cover that. In terms of noise, it's not too noisy, it's okay, because kind of the CPU is not very powerful, so there's less cooling required. And in terms of temps, I'm not really sure, but if you guys want to know, I might do a separate video on kind of gaming performance on that. In terms of value, for $1,000, I'm going to use the Singapore price. I'd say it's an okay value. You get an i7, dedicated graphics, a nice kind of chassis, and a nice screen. But I think they could have done, or maybe have maybe a 128 gig SSD, because that hard drive is really slow. But I think you can upgrade. There might be an M.2 slot, sorry, or you can just do away with the whole hard drive and get an SSD. So things I really like and I would really recommend this laptop for is for media consumption, because the screen is pretty excellent, and in general the laptop is very light, so if you want to go watch something in the park or work at Starbucks, very good. Good for students, not good for media creators or creative people or video editors or gamers. I'd say with students that would fit in if you play light games, but of course if you want to do some more intense gameplay, I would not recommend this at all. But of course this would fit me perfectly. It's kind of light on the horsepower, but of course if you don't need that, you'll be alright. So that kind of wraps up my whole review of the laptop. I'd recommend it for students or for those who don't really care about performance but still needs a tiny bit. So if you want to watch like 4K videos, play some light games, it's a very viable option, and it has incredible build quality to go with it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, subscribe, stay tuned for some more reviews in the future. Check out my other reviews that I did on my channel if you want to check them out. They're pretty good as well. It's Luke here from TheCheesyCarrot, and I'll see you next time. Bye!